Welcome, one and all. Thank you, Michaela. Thanks to Jive and Ivan there for his tunes, keeping us going on a Monday evening. The DL debate is back. This is your host here, Brendan Devenney. It's the start of season 4 and the show is live. It's going live every week now, I'm glad to say. And what a weekend to go live, what a Monday to go live after a massive 2 points for Donegal yesterday at home to All Ireland champions Kerry in Ballybofey. We're going to discuss that game in depth with my guest coming up soon. We're going to look across all the Division 1 games, and including Derry in Division 2. Another real promising start to the season for them. We also have a piece with A2U and ladies football boss Maxi Curran coming up, and we'll have interviews and feedback from Ballybofey yesterday, including Paddy Carr, and that sensational debut from Keelan McGolgan, as good as I've ever seen. Now, first of all, I want to introduce my two guests. I need a drum roll for this man, really. If I had a set of drums, I should have warned Joe Dex, who's producing this evening, to get the drum roll ready. He is the Glenswilly Giant, one of our All-Ireland winners from 2012, the best hands in the business, big Neil Gallagher. Welcome up to the studio, Neil.
Thanks, Brent.
Good to see you, lad. And joining us on Zoom, another man that has a serious medal haul with Crokes and Armagh, including, of course, a Young Footballer of the Year award. And if you really see him on our streaming there on the Facebook Live, he still looks like he could be in that category. Join us from Crossmaglen via Cheering and Ogue. It is Aaron Kernan.
Brandon, great to catch up with you again.
Good man, Aaron. Thanks so much for joining us. Listen, Neil, I want to shoot across to you first. You were in Ballybofey yesterday, and it was an emotional day. I thought it's a long time since I've got so excited about a league game because of the lead into it with the players, of course, retiring. The players weren't available. The players that were injured. A lot of talk about the management. I mean, it seemed they had to jump so many hurdles. So with Kerry coming yesterday, particularly going 163 points down, you were like, oh, this is going to be a tough year potentially. What we seen after that was real, like they gave it full gusto, reeled off 7 points in a row. And I mean, Ballybofey really came to light, and even though we're not out of January, it seemed like a massive victory. Neil.
I suppose it was exciting, like, and especially the way it ended up with the score at the end up. It was a great score by Patrick, like, but again, same as yourself, when it was like 163 points in the first half, like, I know we were playing into a bit of a breeze and stuff, and it was bad conditions, but you weren't kind of thinking that, you were hoping for the best, but weren't thinking it was going to go great. But listen, see, a couple of points just before half time, and brought it back to 3 points at half time, I think it was, and then second half, like, it was just kind of over and back the whole time, like, and like, all them young fellas stood up, like, as you say, Keelan McGolgan, like, what a debut, 3 points from wing back, like, and I know Kerry were missing a lot of, like, the Cliffords and Shan O'Shea and all, but like, they still had the two Spillans, like, Tony Brosnan's been shooting the lights out down there, Darragh Moynihan's been there and thereabouts and stuff, so, like, the defence, like, for them to keep them, and keep them to, what was it, 1-9 or whatever, it was a good performance, and then the score to end up just, it was great.
Because Patrick wasn't on it too much, by his own standards. It was one of those games where it was kind of bypassing him, and the way it was played, he came out a few times, tried to get into the game. So it was one of them matches. He missed that free. Then you remember in the second half, which was unlike him. But I was thinking, as a forward and a free taker, when you're cold, that can happen sometimes. It was his first real shot at goal there, and so long into the game. But then cometh the Capitan steps up, brilliantly worked ball, and you look at the modern game, you blanket defence, that's what you got to do, the wee give go, and once he got on that left foot, you could almost see the headlines coming already.
No, exactly, and I mean, he's well capable of that. Like, it probably, like, Tadhg Morley just went on sweeping a lot, even when they lost possession. Tadhg Morley just dropped in front of Patrick and Jamie Brennan and that, but again, like, Patrick's, he's the marquee player now, or wherever it may go, but it's like, the big players, like, the big players perform, and I was just watching the last play unfold, and I was just like saying to myself, you need to get it to Patrick, like, and because that's, what they're there for, and that's what they're good at, and thankfully the way it worked in, he just had possession before it, went over to the stand side. When it came back to him, then he just came alive when he got it and got the 1-2 and got that bit of space, like, and thankfully it carried over, and it was a great score, like, and I was delighted for the players, because even though it is January and it's the league, like, you know what I mean, the way the championship is now, like the championship's in April, like, and it's not as if, you know, when the league finishes, you have another kind of a pre-season of 5 or 6 weeks to get ready for the championship. Now it's all fairly condensed, like, and you know, you need to get kind of blood new players, but you need to get playing together as a team, like first year in for the new management, playing together as a team, and things like that. Them boys will be buzzing going back to training on Tuesday night, you know.
Definitely. So, Aaron, looking in from outside, I know it's 2 points. You had a depleted Kerry team. Wee bit late coming back. You had their full back line was in there, Aaron, and their 6. 3 of the other guys that started came on sub in All Ireland final. So they still had enough quality throughout the team. And Donegal, you know, unbelievably depleted. So what was your take, Aaron, from outside in terms of what happened in Balbafay yesterday?
Yeah, well, obviously as a neutral, I was an interested spectator, and I get what you're saying in terms of who Kerry were missing. But to be fair, Donegal were missing equally as much. And that was all across the field. From, like, you could arguably say your most influential defenders, Bon, Gallagher, Mogan, McHugh. You're without those boys, and then obviously Langan, Thompson, the O'Donnells. Like, that's a huge amount of experience and quality that yourselves are missing. And I have to say, as a neutral who was sitting there, like, I was impressed with how Donegal started. I was impressed with their composure. Well, obviously the goal was a mistake, and it could have set them back completely. You know, it did look like it was a game that could run away, but I have to say what I was really impressed with, and I know you've mentioned a few times with Caleb McColgan, was the composure to get the ball from one side of the field to the other, and it kept seeming to happen. And he's got 3 really good scores where he went up along the terrace side and switched wings, and it was twice it was McColgan who come sort of inside the 45, found himself at the edge of the D, but kicked with real conviction. And if you're saying from people who were at the game that he was kicking into a wind, for a debutant to get up that far, but to come on at pace, to time his run perfectly, and to kick with the conviction that he did. Again, yous are heavily invested as Donegal men, so you could fear the worst, maybe knowing who was missing. But for me, sitting back watching it, I thought the conviction and confidence he had kicking it, but I also thought then that the roar from the Donegal support, I felt that they really got behind the team, and I think that they sort of knew what was sort of hanging over the team coming into it, you know, in terms of the doubts about the team, the doubts about the management team, the doubts about the amount of players that you were missing. So for me, all of that, I think, led to you really digging in and seeing out the half with only 3 points in it. And like I said, realistically, the goal was a mistake that, well, very rarely you're going to see that there happening in a game, and it's something that can easily be ironed out. So other than that there, I think the management team and the players themselves would have been going in at half-time, you know, with their confidence sort of back up again, and really looking forward to ripping into them the second half, knowing that you had a bit of a breeze at your back. So for me, to stick in it whenever it looked like it could have easily went away from you was the most impressive thing. But it was how you worked the scores, and the players who took them, and that's what really stood out to me. Like I said, as a neutral who was just sitting back watching.
The feet up, Aaron. It was a blustery enough day. Neil, you were saying I'm happy enough watching it at this point. Yeah, you mentioned the goal. Of course, we did do something very similar against Armagh in the championship last year, which was a bit disappointing, Aaron. And that 1-6, I think, out of that 1-6-1-3, I think was direct mistakes, Neil. But after that, you know, when you're pushed to the very back of it, you know, our defence was at 6s and 7s. We were being skinned at the back quite often. We looked like we were in trouble. We seemed to then solidify. And as I say, they scored 7 points in a row. You know, we mentioned McColgan, of course. I thought he was phenomenal. Dara Boyle was completely out of favour under bonus time, had a brilliant game as well. And of course, Conor O'Donnell had a couple of brilliant scores, particularly one on the left foot. You know, I was looking at the Kerry defence at that stage. They thought, you're going nowhere because you're on your left side, go on ahead and have a go. He just curls it over the bar beautifully. That, you know, there was some brilliant performances in there. Patton's kickouts as well at times, Neil, were within an inch perfect, you know. So, you know, looking at it in terms of, as Aaron was saying there, the amount of people that was out and people that's away that's still to come back. If Donegal can get something from these players and can unearth a few players, it can only make the squad in a good place going in as we go towards championship.
Oh, definitely. And I thought that, like see Mark Curran cornerback, you You know, McCall, once they got the start, you know, you make the big full forward, Roach was kind of, you know, you got a couple of scores and stuff, but see any time the ball went on then, especially the second half, like them boys are right up alongside them and flicking the ball away, like, and them 6 Kerry forwards, I'll know they're probably not the 6 starters, like, with the boys to come in, and they're going to be pushing for spots too, like, so I mean, they were trying their hardest, like, but I thought once Curran and McCall, Keelan Ward too, and Tony Brosnan, like, I thought once they kind of got a grip of them in the second half, it was a good platform, but you're right too, Patton's kick out was just, like, the conditions, I don't know if you could see it on TV, but like the conditions, they were a big breeze and then with the rain, but Patton's kickouts was just a joy to watch him just pinging them out, like, and you know, he's a talented goalkeeper, you know.
If we had your big hands out there now, Aaron, do you know what was funny after the match? Jack O'Connor flipping on about this point. And now the point was debatable and was funny because from our side, we were at the opposite side to him. Kerry had a definite wide in the second half, went in the near post wide, and he was ranting and raving about that at the end of the match. And it's funny what you give off about. You got to be careful because this was 100% wide. I don't know, did it show the images last night? But there was a period in the second half, Aaron, I don't know if could you see it on TV, but Kerry completely lost their shape, and we were hitting them on the break. We actually should have scored a goal at that point. Now, remember, we were breaking up the pitch. Kerry was all over the place. And then there was one big call. The whole Kerry defence just went back in. The whole team went back into the 45. And they realised that they had got caught under the counter-attack. It's probably then that Donegal maybe should have got a bit of a cushion. As it stood then after that, Kerry had 3 very good chances. And even there was a point in it by about 5 minutes to go to equalise. They missed them all. And I think we did right or luck a small bit. Aaron, were you aware of that there in the game, the fact that the way the game, particularly in the second half, the way it flipped from Kerry's defensive strategy initially all over the place to going back into rigid?
Yeah, but that's what I thought they actually were doing quite well in the first half against you. Was they were getting 13 men back inside their own half, and that's where, like, some of your boys were taking the ball into contact and getting stripped of it. But for me, what impressed me, Armagh were doing that there on Saturday night, but Armagh, the 2 forwards that they had up the field, were standing on the 45. So it might give you an out in terms of being able to kick past it. But then as those 2 boys get it, they have to stand and wait for everybody to come. Where I thought in the first half what Kerry were doing really well was once they turned you over, their 2 inside forwards were stretching you, so they were staying right inside the 14, 21 yards, you know, and it was a turnover, say, in your 45-metre lane, and it was a kick into space. I think Graham O'Sullivan one time just ran up the middle of the field and a kick pass took basically all your players who were trying to retreat and get back to help McCall and Curran in the full back line. But I suppose in terms of the wind then changing in the second half, and then boys just getting up to the speed of it, maybe communication getting a bit better, a bit of spatial awareness, realising, you know, that we're all following the ball up the field, we're getting turned over, and it's everybody chasing because we've left a 2-on-2. So I think without obviously being in the change rooms with your group, I think that's something maybe that managers might have addressed, players might have realised themselves. And it meant then, as Neil said, that any ball that was going in, your fullbacks aren't afraid to attack it, because there's a bit of pressure on it, or they know all they have to do is get a hand in or break it, and you have retreating players coming who's going to pick the ball up. So I think as a whole, definitely there was a big improvement from yourselves, and whether Kerry ran out of steam or whether, you know, it was a group of boys who maybe aren't as used to playing with each other and nobody was taking the lead, you know, in terms of who was going to control the shape of their team. But that's not really a Donegal issue, so let them worry about that there. I think from a Donegal perspective, that would have to be a huge plus, whether it was management, players, or them all coming together, that they realised what was going wrong in the first half or how you were leaving yourself so open, to be able to turn that and stay in a game that looked like it would run away from you. And then, like I said, you could have rode your luck a wee bit, a bit towards the end of the game, but like, you have to remember, Darragh Wheel was really unlucky too with an effort. He could have had a goal in the first half where he came in the terrace side and have a shot off his left foot, nearly went in off the back post. You know, so definitely there was chances and positives all across the field for yourselves too.
Yeah, I think so. Just on the overall picture, you know, we've 7 games in 9 weeks. As you said, early championship, it's going to come thick and fast. Have you ever seen, you know, you've played under so many different managers, you've gone into a league when you've had most of your players probably there, you've a good preparation, you know, you've had to find your feet, as Aaron was saying. Like have you ever seen a time like this in Donegal football? I mean, the amount of stuff, and let's be honest, there's vultures circling already. I could hear it out there from different people. You know, everything was negative. No, I'm not saying everything was negative, but the negative voices were there. And I was thinking, you know, this is a difficult, and that's why I think for Paddy Carr, you know, Ian O'Rourke, Paddy Bradley, the whole backroom team, you know, it's an unbelievable lift. I know it's only 2 points, but it certainly feels like a lot more.
Well, probably a lot of the negativity probably was maybe, you know, after Declan kind of, I suppose, stepped down or whatever, that it took a brave while for it to find a manager. Like, but see now, like whenever Paddy's on there and stuff, like it's just a matter of just, you know, getting behind it. Like, and I thought, like, there was a good crowd there yesterday, like, and the supporters fairly got behind the team and stuff and was there. Like, and I'm sure, like, you know, it's kind of like, not that they'll be nervous, like, but they'll be excited. Like, you know, them three boys have great experience, like in management and players themselves, like, and have been through all that. But still, like, first game at home, especially against Kerry, like, it's going to be a kind of a big one. Like, I seen the one with Jack O'Connor, like, and they kind of came running after the ref at the end of the game, like, and it just shows you what it meant to him. He was incensed not to get a draw out of it, like, you know. So no, I'm sure they were delighted. Again, like, it is still January as the league, but at the same time, it's 2 points that possibly, you know, 2 months ago, like, or, you know, we're probably thinking, you know, we might not get them 2 points. So it's definitely good, and like, it's a good now going on to Tyrone, because like, after them getting beat at the weekend,
we could try and relegate Tyrone. Is that what you're thinking?
No, but 2 points on our way.
Aaron would like that. Aaron, just on the management team there, obviously there's one of your own men, and Aidan O'Rourke. What do you think? What would he bring in your opinion to this setup as a coach?
Well, I'll go in a bit on Neil's point there as well before I speak about Aidan. And for me, like, sure, you're outside and you can hear all the stuff, and right, it probably wasn't ideal. It took longer than they would have hoped to get somebody. You know, there was the amount of rumours about who was going to get it, who wasn't going to get it. But I'm always of the opinion that once they do get it, just like Neil said, you have to get on board to support them. Like, Paddy Carr is a very good manager of his own right, but then to pull a management team of Paddy Bradley, I'm assuming clearly he's your forwards coach, Aidan O'Rourke, very experienced player, manager, coach in terms of looking after the defence. So, right, it mightn't have been there in place as long as everyone would have wanted it to be, but if they're given time and given a bit of space and allowed to develop their own sort of feel of that team, there's more than enough quality within them. But it did just feel like everybody was down in the whole thing. And at the end of the day, like, this isn't golf, like, this is an individual sport, like, this is a team, this is a county that you have to give them an opportunity to be able to put their own stamp on things. And like I said, 2 days ago, never mind 2 months ago, you mightn't have thought that result was going to come, but it did. I'm sure there's plenty that can be improved on, and there's plenty that they will feel that there's improvement on, but it's a brilliant start. In terms of Aidan, I know there's a bit of criticism over the down panel last year and that, but I would be, and some of the murmurs coming out of it, training not being good or not being coached well enough, but for me, like, Aidan as a player was like extremely smart player, great reader of the game. He'd be methodical in what he would do, as far as I'd be concerned. He's managed Louth, he's coached in Kildare, he's coached in Down, he's now with yourselves. You know, he's heavily invested and has been in football since he's retired. So, like, he would have so many qualities, good defensive qualities, or even in terms of how a team as a whole should be able to set up, that I think, yeah, like I said, just if there was a bit of positivity and a bit of time and space for him, that I think he'll definitely add to it. And like Paddy Bradley as a forward, like, we all know the qualities that he had, and I think he'll be well able to bring that across to the modern game, and how things have changed and that there, because the game is changing. The game's gone back a wee bit to what it was, you know, maybe 10, 15 years ago. And that's whenever Paddy was at his best, because I always remember, I was lucky enough, I played an international rules team with him, but the one thing he always wanted to do was take a defender's space once he got the ball in his possession. And similar to what you would have done yourself, Brendan, like, he was brilliant at it. So as the game evolves back to where you might get more opportunities to take on a man only for 10 yards in a one-on-one situation, but he would always take your space. He'd step across you, he'd either make you foul you, or you'd have to let him go and he'd get the shot off. So again, as a young forward coming up in the county, or even those who are established, I think that they can feed and learn plenty off the likes of him as well also.
Yeah, good man, Aaron. And listen, the last coach we had from Armagh was, of course, the famous John Morrison. If he's as good as John, I'd be happy enough, the legend that he was, God rest him. Neil, Aaron just touched on time and management and time there. Now, I was in Tyrone today, and already there's a couple of boys skinning. You know, this is a team won All Ireland 2 years ago. Obviously had almost an off year last year, and they're saying, right, they're not going well. There's going to have to be a change. And I'm like, right, boys, are you gone mad or what? You know, day one. I mean, how do you see this next week with Tyrone? And I suppose it was mentioned earlier about, you know, people's attitudes towards, you know, any result. And like I was hearing that today in Tyrone, people are questioning now, where are they going, what's happening?
I mean, I suppose not too many, I suppose, whenever Logan and Duher thought that they won All Ireland the first year in charge kind of thing or whatever, like, and they done that and had great success, and like, you know, that time they won it like 2 years ago, it was a great victory. I know a lot of the teams the year after, apart from probably Dublin there this last while, the year afters kind of tend to be kind of injuries and different things, and it's not as good, but you'd be expecting them, like, now that they've kind of got a fairly, I suppose, a kind of a settled team, I suppose, with a couple. I know that a lot of boys walked away last year and stuff, but they'll still be like dangerous. Like when you look at Ulster, like, I mean, there's probably 5 or 6 teams that are in around. Derry could be a wee bit ahead of everybody else, but then there's 5 or 6 that could win it, and Tyrone's on there. Like, I mean, you could play Tyrone 5 times in a row now, 5 weekends, like, and you know, it'll be 2-2 going into the last, like, you know, between us and them. I think that the two boys that have 2 fairly good managers, like, so yeah, I mean, yeah.
The panic button being hit too quick.
Yeah.
Aaron, just as Neil said there, you know, who's pushing on in Ulster? You know, you obviously seen Armagh Monaghan at the weekend. Like, it looks now from the outside as if it listen, again, I don't want to be judging anything first day, but it could be tough and a tough season for Monaghan. In terms of your own lads, of course, you've accounted for us and Tyrone last year, as did Derry. So if anybody's on the up in Ulster, it's the Orchard men and the Derry men. What would you make of that?
Well, I would have thought that, like before yesterday, I would have put Tyrone. I felt that they would have the biggest comeback this year, more to prove. I would have them down as favourites for Ulster. As it stands today, I'd probably say Derry again. Just given what happened Tyrone yesterday, I wouldn't hit the panic button as big with them. I do think they still have an awful lot of quality. They give away 2 goals in very quick succession yesterday, which is not something that you generally attribute to them. But in terms of ourselves, definitely after last year, the 2 wins against yourselves and Tyrone, it put us up on a bit of a pedestal. I think the excitement that came with the Galway game raised things another bit, but I would be pragmatic enough to sit back and look to say we were quite fortunate to end up even getting a draw against Galway. To be honest, I was at the game and I thought we were comfortably beat. I thought the game was over. Obviously, just 2 high balls in and we got 2 goals, and it was just basically pandemonium from then on. But definitely heading in the right direction. I would see ourselves probably sitting in behind Donegal or in behind Derry at the moment as potential second favourites. But the one team I would be most worried about ourselves, I think we would account for Antrim easily enough in the first round, but having to play Cavan in Cavan is one that I know there's a full league campaign to come here, but as I speak to you now, that's one game that I think we will just get our absolute fill of it. I was over, I know it was only a McKenna Cup game, it was a Wednesday night and it was lashing rain for Armagh and Cavan a couple of weeks ago, but I have to say I was very impressed with how Cavan set up defensively and how their forward shape and how they tried to move the ball, their willingness to look for a pass, and they were missing Garrett McKernan, they were missing Paddy Lynch up front that day. James Smith in the middle of the field, so they had a lot of their better players still to come back, but they looked physically in good shape, and they played a good style of football that as the ground get harder and the weather gets better, they're just going to be harder to handle. So for me, that is going to be a huge test, and I could see that even from months out for Armagh heading over to Breffni Park.
Yes, indeed. And listen, just looking at the way the All Ireland set up, Neil, you know, you're only guaranteed it in Division 1 on the top of 2, really, as it looks, because the way Connacht is, there's going to be Sligo or Leitrim's going to be in the final. There's a spot gone. Westmeath won the Tailteann Cup, they're in. So you don't want to be dropping down a division. Now I think Derry, obviously how they started, conceding 4 points. I mean that's some defensive display. Neil, no one knows Neil Gallagher better than you. Is this just the same playbook from your time and Jim's time? Do you see any difference in it? You know, the fitness, the attitude. I mean, you've seen the two Glen lads was back there at the weekend. That, you know, that is a real all-in thing that would have been there in Jim's time. Like, I thought them lads would have got a break. There they are, you know, in the National League again. It just seems the way Gallagher is here, boys. We're all in. That's it. You know.
Well, I suppose, like, exactly. I mean, remember, like, what's Jim and Rory's time and that when they were in, it was kind of a, you didn't want to miss a league, you didn't hardly want to miss a McKenna Cup match or a league match unless you were, like, one of the guaranteed starters. But anybody that wasn't a guaranteed starter, you didn't want to be injured, you didn't want to be missing a game because
it took you a year now to be a guaranteed starter.
But that's what I'm saying. Like,
and we're glad of that now, by the way, don't we?
But even like in like McKenna Cup league games, like, you know, you didn't want to be missing out because next thing somebody else comes on there and plays well, and it's kind of hard to put them out. You know what I mean? Then, so I mean, I think Rory's created the same culture within Derry. It's like whoever wants to go with us, you know, for whatever amount of years there is, go with it. And showed last year like they were successful in Ulster and probably going on then to semi-final. Like, you know, the second half kind of got away from them against Galway, but the way he'd created it, I was still surprised that Ethan Doherty and Conor Glass played, but at the same, you know, they probably hadn't much training done with Derry collectively, but at the same time, they're two of their better players, like, and I'm sure, I suppose after what happened to them, they might have been maybe glad to get in playing a bit of football, you know, but you know, he'll have them gung-ho. And as I say, the thing about it now is that when the league's finished, there's no taper off or just, you know, kind of take a week off and stuff. The championships, you know, starting or whatever in April and stuff, and so you have a while bit of time to kind of get going. And I think the good thing about the league and even the championship being condensed is that you don't want to play a championship match and then 4 weeks later then, you know, your next game as it used to be and stuff. Like, you want to be playing every week or two, you know, and they're not going to bring your fitness on and kind of stuff like that as games, you know. So you're
happy enough for the new format?
I think so. Like, it's
I think it's going to take a bit of tweaking. I think, Aaron, just flipping out of the whole county scene at the minute. Glen and Crokes, Dr. Crokes representatives are meeting in Croke Park as we speak, I think. I know this has been talked about inside out. Aaron, where do you see this ending up?
I was of the opinion last week that I did think a replay was a certainty. And then we were chatting to your buddy Wooly on his podcast, and the word at that stage, and it then was confirmed for Kilmacud, is that their stance was, if a replay is to be ordered, that they're happy to hand the cup back and give it to Mara and tell them that they're All Ireland champions. I feel sorry for both teams. I feel sorry for the position that they've been put in. It's the biggest day in the club calendar, and it's just not a nice position for either club or set of players to be in. I don't think there's going to be any winner, you know, if this drags on and gets messier. But I suppose initially I thought from listening to Malik O'Rourke that Glen were happy enough that, you know, they just had accepted. I can also see where the players or committee or how they come to the conclusion of, you know, we have an opportunity here that if we do raise a complaint that there's a potential we could get an All Ireland final replay. That's not something that you're going to walk away from. So again, you can clearly understand what they want to do. If I was Crokes, I would have the bull up and I'd say, let's get this game on and we'll teach you a lesson and show you who the real All Ireland champions are. But clearly they have boys who have now left the country and they're not going to have a full hand to pick from, so therefore a replay just isn't an option because they don't feel they'll be at full strength. So like I said, it's just going to be a messy situation. That's just going to be a sorry debacle that really come down to, and you don't like to be too critical of them, but it was a referee or administration error somewhere between a referee, a linesman, a fourth official. Communication wasn't what it should have been for a game of that magnitude, and had a 45 been retaken, we wouldn't be in this situation. If Mahara had took a 45 again, scored a goal, it was Kilmacud's fault for having an extra player in the field. Took the 45 again and Crokes come out with the ball. At least Mahara got justice. They had their chance and they didn't take it a second time round. So to me that's the unfortunate situation that has us where we are now. It seemed like was an awful lot going on the sideline at that stage, and this has just slipped through, and it's just created a holy mess, unfortunately.
Gee, it is a holy mess, Aaron, you're right. I just think that, you can't say that, listen, they're amateurs in an amateur organisation, these things happen, but I think there had to be a look at it that evening. Crokes had to be warned here. There has to be something looked at, at least by that bit of time to, I suppose, to make some kind of effort in it. We'll remain to see what happens. Listen, for now, Aaron Kernan, as ever, thanks so much. We didn't even get a chance to talk about Francie Bailey's benefit night that you ran so well. We'll get a chat about that again. Aaron, we're running out of time here.
You need a full hour for that one, Brendan.
A few behind the scenes stories. Aaron, it was a great night. We'll get talking again as ever. Aaron, thanks for joining us. That's Aaron Kernan, of course, all the way from Cross McGlen there via Zoom. Big Neil's going to hang on here. We'll get you a wee cup of tea, hey, and we'll get a couple of ad breaks on here. Back after these.
The DL debate with Sister Sarah's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sarah's Kitchen, and there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
Do you currently have vacancies that need urgently filled? Have you tried various ways to find new staff but didn't succeed? Let Highland Radio help you source and fill your current vacancies in the most cost-effective way. Simply sign up to our new job spot and we will tell our listeners about your vacancies both on air and online. Every Monday, Wednesday and Friday during our primetime shows, we will broadcast the latest job opportunities across the Northwest and into counties Derry and Tyrone. All job listings will be available online at highlandradio.com. For more information, contact the advertising team on 07491 25322 or email advertising@highlandradio.com. Highland Radio, we're here for you.
Highland Radio are going to Scotland from Monday the 1st of May to Thursday the 4th of May with the very best of music, and we would love for you to join us. Staying at the 4-star Crown Plaza Hotel in Glasgow, we are bringing with us some of the biggest country stars, including myself, David James, Declan Ernie and Robert Mazzell, to name a few. You will enjoy luxury travel to Glasgow, 3 nights dinner, bed and breakfast with music and entertainment each evening. Join us on the Highland Fling to Glasgow this May for only €575 per person. To book, call Highland Radio today on 07491 25000. Early booking is advisable. Single supplement applies.
Broadcasting throughout the Northwest and across the world online. This is Highland Radio.
Dogu do Station, Highland Radio.
Hello, thanks for waiting. Could you hold the line?
Yeah, no problem.
Now, how can I help you?
Hi, I'm looking to make some updates to my insurance policy.
Have you tried our online portal?
I thought it would be easier to call.
Yeah. No. You're going to have to log on to amend your policy. Thanks for calling.
No, wait. I don't know my password.
Get the feeling that your insurer doesn't want to talk to you? At Local Insurance, we understand your needs. Call today for a bespoke quote or find us online at localinsurance.ie. Local Insurance, we'll get you sorted. The Local Insurance Network DAC Trading's Local Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Local Insurance is a tied insurance intermediary of Acorn Brokerage Limited. Acorn Brokerage Limited, trading as Acorn Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Your next move matters, so why not move better? Start your move to permanent TSB today. Apply in-app for our award-winning current account. So don't just move bank, move better. Apply in-app today.
Applications for Explore Current Account in-app for over 18 personal customers. Qualifying criteria, fees and charges, terms and conditions apply. Awarded bonkers.ie Best Current Account 2022. Permanent TSB PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The best music on your station.
The DL debate with Sister Sarah's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sarah's Kitchen, and there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
Yes, indeed. Welcome back. Big Neil has stayed with us here. He didn't have tea because he only drinks the herbal stuff now, and he does yoga, and I think everybody in the Glen should know what he's at there, folks. That's how he's so lean, hey, I think. But listen, I'm glad, Neil, you've stayed on. We're going to chat now after these couple of clips. After the game yesterday, our own Oisín Kelly, who's doing commentary in the game, caught up with, first of all, Donegal coach, manager Paddy Carr, and then after that, man of the match, Keelan McGonigal.
Paddy, up and running with a victory. A good day for Donegal here in a wet Balbuffet. Well, as I say, tus Maias Lan Hebrew. You know, it's a special day. Like, it's to go out in those tight kind of games, and particularly, you know, given the conditions and all out there. Like, there was, like, the truth is, irrespective of that game had it went the other way by a point to Kerry, I would still be exceptionally proud of the effort and all, because, you know, we asked of that. The lads are kind of aware that, you know, people are unsure as to where Donegal football is at the moment. You know, in terms of talent and all of that, you can put question any team, but in terms of heart and endeavour and pride and passion, that's intact there. And I think the lads showed that there, because they were out on their feet at the end, and upstead Paddy to do what he's done so often for Donegal and pull it out of the fire. So it was great.
Well, the way they turned it around, because you were 6 points down after 24 minutes of the first half, to see out the half in the manner that you did and continue that for the first 10 minutes in the second half was impressive, Paddy.
Yeah, well, you know, I was a bit concerned because we actually had more chances than we capitalised on, you know, and we did. A lot of the Kerry scores tended to come from sort of mistakes that we had made, and, you know, we're trying to tweak, I suppose, for the want of a better word, the kind of football that we play. And, you know, I think that was kind of evident there today. I never fault lads for making mistakes. The biggest mistake you make is not to worry about making them, and once the effort and the endeavour is right. So look, it's the lads, you know, they can walk tall around the county this week, and we'll kick on from that. And that's, you know, I'm very conscious of giving people here in Donegal, particularly, you know, our thoughts are very much still with the people in Creaselaw, and we hope that put a smile on their face.
Yeah, well, you've brought a smile to people, supporters here today, because when the final whistle blew, we could see what it meant to them. But one young fella in particular, young Keelan McColgan from Muff, his first league start today, 3 points, man of the match, a super contribution, and he didn't fear taking on the All Ireland champions.
No, and I mean, just the angle where I was standing on two of the points, I mean, they were exceptional points, and he ran himself into the ground. And I mean, you look at young Johnny McGrady there from Downlands as well, you know, it gave everything, and a few other lads that have come in there as well, and it's, you know, it's even young Luke Glynn, like, he's only a teenager coming in there, and like, we trust these lads, and they show great spirit. And I want to pay condolences to Luke's family. His granddad was buried yesterday, and I hope that they enjoyed that hour.
Yeah, and very, very proud moment for the family. Just looking ahead now to next week finally, Tyrone and Healy Park in Omagh, but you go to that game now with a spring in the step, having beat the reigning league and All Ireland champions.
Well, look, one of the things that's always important in sport and team sport is in competitions is a bit of momentum. So, like, I'd like to think that has propelled us on. It'll certainly make the week a lot better, you know. And it's you know, you see there's a very significant number of lads still to come back into that squad there at the moment, and it'll a lot of lads now will be dying to get out of the treatment table and back out onto the field for Donegal. But a very proud performance, and, you know, Kerry have an amazing pedigree. They come up there, they play their hearts out as well. But look, we did what we had to do in the end.
Keelan McColgan, man of the match. Not a bad way to start your senior career with Donegal, first league starting a man of the match performance against the All Ireland champions.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to get over the line against Kerry. They're a real great outfit, even though they're missing a few today. We were missing a few, and we all want to push on, set out a message.
Yeah. But listen, in your own performance today, 3 points coming from wing back in very, very tough conditions. I'm sure you're very, very pleased with your own performance.
Yeah, definitely. I'm happy enough. I wasn't expecting to get the start, never mind the man of the match, so I'm happy now. Hopefully keep the jersey now next couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, listen, you put yourself certainly in a good position to do that, but on the game today, at one stage you were 6 points down, 24 minutes on the clock. 1-6 to 3 points it was, and Kerry seemed to be in total control of the game, but it was a fantastic turnaround by Donegal.
Yeah, definitely. We knew we were the best team. Their goals and their points led to our mistakes, and we knew coming at half time we were pushing on in the second half.
Yeah, and you did that, and you hit them 4 runs answer score, wasn't it, that opening 10 minutes?
Yeah, I think so. We knew we were setting out a message in that second half, so we're not here to mess around.
Yeah, what did the management say to you at the break? Because you finished the half well too, so you did at that stage?
Look, they thought we were the better team throughout the first half, and they knew we'd push on the second half then.
What's it like with you young boys? Johnny McGrady, of course, another, and here today, and there's a good handful of you young players that are now in the senior mix. Obviously, you have settled in well.
Yeah, definitely. Look, we're pushing on through training. I think we deserved our spot. I mean, there's a few more that can still push on too.
Yeah. It's good for you in the club. The club will be happy with us, so they will.
Yeah, definitely. They're very supportive of me throughout career, so I'm happy for the club and for myself.
But it's important for a club like the Patrick down in Muff to have somebody in the senior ranks and develop the way, particularly the way you have.
Yeah, definitely. We don't have many county seniors ever, I don't think. Maybe one. and then we're a growing club. We're trying to push on now the next couple of years.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen. The more immediate thing now for you is Tyrone now next week, but you should go in there now in good stead after that one today.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be confident going into Armagh that we can get a win, and anywhere we go in the country, we know we can get a win if we put our minds to it.
Fair play to you, lad. That was some debut, in fairness. Fair play to him. And as they look, Glenn and all the debut, and says McGrady kicking in with a point as well. And really, as you were saying, at the back as well, Curran and everybody that made their debuts yesterday and come on and helped in that game. Neil, it was huge stuff. Just Paddy Carr there, his demeanour. I've heard stories of McGuinness tearing strips off people. Never you, because you had always done your job. I remember Boner absolutely crucifying me for that header I scored against London. But I can't see Paddy Carr now letting rip anybody in the dressing room. Maybe that's where O'Rourke or Paddy or Patrick comes in. He might maybe somebody else had let loose on him, or maybe I'm mistaken.
I suppose it's not but he has a very cool kind of demeanour there about him, and spoke very well, and especially mentioned the young fellas there a lot, and Luke McGlynn coming on, and doesn't look phased at all, even hitting the penalty in the McKenna Cup game against Monaghan, only still a teenager, and Johnny McGrady as well covered every blade of grass yesterday, was up and down the field and getting stuck in, and he seems he was on a bit of style of play, a bit changing maybe the style of play and stuff, and hopefully with Paddy Bradley and that on there, that there were times even yesterday, and again you're kind of, I suppose me as a midfielder, your kind of first option nearly always just to lock up, and there are times there you'd be thinking just let her rip and let her run, and it's too often kind of you get into this kind of solo and not even looking up, but I think if a lot of kind of times just drive her in, because the forwards is there, Patrick, Jimmy Brennan, sure, he's a great ball winner, taking men on, and all it takes is one high ball in, ball to spill, and it could be a goal. So hopefully we'll see a lot more of that. And
just last question to you, just looking ahead to Tyrone, right? If that team plays now that we have, and listen, it was a great performance, it's brilliant experience. If we're going up against a pretty full strength Tyrone team in Healy Park, there's going to be a very different prospect from a home match against that Kerry side. Next week is a very difficult prospect, because Tyrone are going to be under pressure to win their home game.
Big time, and no more so than we have a good record in Balbafay and stuff. But going in there, especially now after getting beat, neighbours and rivals, and it's going to be a tough one. Hopefully our boys will just push on, and I'm sure we're the three boys on the management team there, the experience they've have going from one game to the other, they'll know that listen, this is going to be a tough one, especially Healy Park. They'll be mad for winning it for 2 points, so. Now it'll not be soft,
Not be soft. Hey, listen, if we do happen to go down to Monaghan, I think that's a game, maybe one of those away games we could target. That's the roundup on that for now. As I say, earlier today I caught up with Sir Maximus himself, Maxi Curran, the ATU and ladies boss, for a chat about the season so far. Yes, Maxi, it's Monday here in Highland Radio. Thanks so much for coming up to the studio and giving us your words.
Yeah, no problem, Brennan. Anytime.
Maxi, just before we get into the ladies and the season so far and what's ahead, Maxi, just you're a busy man as ever. ATU boss as well. Maxi, I was just looking at some of the squads now. I covered the team that they just lost to UU Jordanstown when they were playing UCD, and I was just looking at the talent and the pools of talent that's out there, and of course ATU are trying to get up and in the mix of that, Maxi, but that was a talented side. You can mighty close to, I don't know if you call it an upset as such, but you can mighty close to getting across the line with them, and we're bossing the game at half time.
Yeah, look, we do look, we pride ourselves on being able to mix it with the big boys, as they say. We didn't do a great job of it against DCU in the previous round. It was a very tough night for us that came on the back of a really tough fortnight for the lads. People forget that these boys are that they're boys, they're kids. Some of them are still teenagers, and that in the lead up to that DCU game, we had some Ryan McFadden had played something like 5 games in 9 days between the McKenna Cup, McKenna Cup and Club Under 21, and and you had guys, and and then there was cancellations, there was weather, there was a period there was a real bad bug and flu going about, and look, we were just really undercooking out of that game. We had a very positive league campaign. We had taken DCU to extra time in the quarter final. We'd beaten St Mary's, we'd beaten Queen's. We were beaten by Jordanstown, all right, in the third group match, but we still qualified at that stage. And we had high hopes of being really competitive in this year's competition, just as we were last year. And I think the Jordanstown game, we probably did ourselves a bit of justice, and we came out down the road with our heads held high. And you mentioned the quality of some of those bigger colleges. The roster they have is frightening. Jordanstown were able to bring on 5 inter-county players that had played in the McKenna Cup against us at our own Keelan McColgan, who had shot the lights out yesterday. He was playing cornerback in that team, and they just had so many county players to come in and out of their team, and one thing and another. And look, we don't have that, and look, we have guys playing Division 2 and intermediate and junior football and on our team. But listen, that's all very well. That's for the stats and asterisks. But on the day, our boys just fought like their lives depended on it, and when you have that, give me 15 battlers over 15 footballers any day, and that's what got us so close. The sheer attitude of the boys and the will to win, and for them to play with such vigour for their college team is a testament to those guys. And I think maybe just invested so much in the first 40-45 minutes, we just kind of maybe ran out of steam a bit in the end.
And how important actually do you place the Sigerson in terms of not just Letterkenny and the college and Donegal, the progression of these lads? Do you think it's a really important point in terms of we're looking at players that are hopefully going to go on and maybe play for Donegal. I know a lot of them are and are involved in county teams, but is this a very vital part of what they're doing? Like, I'm just trying to get a grasp of how important Sigerson football is, and if we can promote it, how it lifts the college and that. There's so many different aspects to this, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there is. And look, I don't know maybe if vital is the right word, but I think it's a very useful part of young players' development nowadays. Look, unfortunately, it's probably a short enough window, and we always say to the lads it's a really cool competition to play in, because it's one of the very few where nearly the ratio of matches will outweigh that. The ratio of matches to training will outweigh, whereas every other team you train 10 times as much as you play. So look, the boys really like it from that perspective. But yeah, look, to get the chance to test themselves against the very best, young Aaron Gallagher from Racoul's there, Mark Darragh against Jordanstown held him to a point from play, which is a serious achievement. There's many a long-standing inter-county player would be proud of that, and that's an experience that the likes of Aaron will take along with him, and it'll help him in his club career. And look, you seen Johnny McGrutty there yesterday. He came on, he kicked his point. He's played now in DCU for a couple of years. Keelan McColgan, as we mentioned, has started for Jordanstown. So that's a massive step for those boys, maybe fellas like maybe Johnny and Keelan, who are coming from intermediate clubs, and they don't be exposed maybe that high a level from one year to the next, whereas a lot of the boys in the other counties are maybe playing at a higher level consistently. So to give them boys the chance to be exposed to that level of football is brilliant. And we had the likes of Dylan Dorian, who had a brilliant campaign for us in the league, and it was called into the squad, the training squad. On the back of that, Joe Bradley Welch got called into the last year's panel on the back of scoring 3-3 down against UL down in the Dome last year in the quarter final. So it's providing the boys with a shop window for them to, I suppose, to express themselves, and then it's also exposing them to football at the absolute highest level, because that's what they've met in the two matches. Look, we got a very tough draw in Jordanstown and DCU, so that's just the highest quality you can get.
Yeah, definitely, Maxi, definitely. Good man. Maxi, just switching to one of your other teams. I don't know many teams you're involved in.
Oh, that's it.
Listen, I know this is the most important, Maxi, and listen, of course it is, and it's ladies football, Maxi, and I'm looking at the division there, and for years, Maxi, there was an odd team in there that maybe hadn't totally got their act together, for want of a better word. I'm looking at the 8 sides in the top league now, and they're all teams that can handle themselves and can beat other teams. You, of course, have rested a lot of our household names, if you like, because a lot of them have been around so long, and you want to keep them fresh this summer. You've gone back to youth. It's been a tough couple of open games. We've lost both games, Maxi. Now we're away to Kerry, making the trip to play Kerry, Maxi. So it's going to be a tough league for us.
It's going to be a very tough league, and it's probably the toughest league that we have experienced in my 5 or 6 years, in the job here. There's always been a couple of maybe of the lesser teams that, because there's only one team to get relegated, it's kind of quite difficult to get relegated. So we there's always been a couple that you set out at the start as that's one we can definitely target. That's not the case this year. You've got you have the last year's 4 All-Ireland semi-finalists, and that's not to mention, Dublin, Cork or Galway, are the 3 most renowned teams in the country and the most success at underage. So, that's a serious level of competition. But look, we knew what we were getting into at the start. We knew that a lot of those more senior girls wouldn't be around for this part of the league, and look, it was not something we shied away from. Donegal are staring down at a long period of transition, and we knew that the younger girls were going to have to get a crack at it. And look, we weren't in any way afraid of that. We have great belief in some of the players we have. There's a few of them have maybe a year or two in the squad. They might not have played very many matches, and then we've a couple of real good underage players coming through. And look, we've high hopes and a lot of belief in them. So the only way they're going to learn is by getting in and going in at the deep end.
It'd been very easy for you after everything you did with this team, how far you took them, to kind of think, right, there's a change coming here, but now you've a long-term plan. Listen, nobody knows a ladies game like you. So have you a new crop now? And listen, of course, the old brigade's going to be back, but are you thinking now I'm going to stay about and mould a new East team? Is that the plan, or is that too far ahead?
No, that's definitely a way down the road.
We'll get a 5-year plan.
Look, they went so close last year. They were a kick of the ball away from beating Meath, who were comfortable in the All Ireland final last year. So it's still something that's hanging there for us. That dream and ambition of going to win All Ireland, and we are definitely rinsing every ounce out of these senior girls, and we're really asking them to go above and beyond to play for Donegal, and the dream and the intention is still to go and battle for an All Ireland. But we are also very conscious that there's the team will last a lot longer than myself and a number of the senior girls, so we want to try and leave it in as positive place as we can when our time is done. And we feel by these girls getting a crack at Division 1 now that they will be the better for that. And you have girls playing there, as I say, they've I've said it a number of times, me, that 10 players started on Saturday that have more All-Irelands, and 10 of our girls have matches played for Donegal, so that's a measure of the disparity and experience levels. But those girls will be the better for that, and some of those girls will be playing for Donegal for the next 5-10 years and will remember occasions like that.
So if you get a couple of players under pressure, Maxi, you see can perform, and you get the most senior players back, you then have a better squad. So in many ways, even though this has been a tough start, you can turn this around. And listen, you've Waterford coming up. You're going to target Waterford and Mayo, right? If you can overturn the two of them, there's one team going down. All of a sudden you stay in the division. That's all you really want to do, and then you get your senior players back, and you build into the championship.
Yeah, no, that's completely it. You're all the time looking to develop one or two, and look, you don't want wholesale changes from one season to the next. If you can, any team can bring one or two new players in every year. That's the ideal way of progressing and evolving the team. And look, we feel, from what we've seen so far, there's definitely going to be 1, 2, 3 girls that are really going to put their hand up come the summertime, regardless who comes back. So look, it's been very positive. Yeah, I know we haven't got the points on the board, but I think everybody has really put their hand up and we've come out swinging in this campaign. And I say it's a win-win for us so far.
My just last question about the score lines. Now, you know me, I'm an entertaining football type guy, and the big attraction I thought in the ladies game for years when I used to go and watch Maria, and that was kind of, I always say this, it was more open play, right, and there was loads of scores. I'm just looking at 5-1-7 here. Is conditions anything to do with this, or is tactics just gone?
Yeah,
gone full throttle?
And look, last week with 10 minutes to go, it was 6-6. Look, we just by coincidence happened to retain a lot of our defensive players from last year, so our defence is still very strong. Right. Something with our pride ourselves being able to defend well. A lot of the players that are missing happen to be offensive type players, and look, we felt that by keeping the thing tight, we didn't feel that we were ever going to shoot the lights out. So in order for us to be competitive and get a chance of getting points, the less we conceded, the less we had to score.
Yeah, brilliant stuff from Maxi Curran. What a servant he's been to GA here in the county, folks. That's wrapping up the show. I want to thank, of course, Maxi, who you just heard there, Aaron Kernan, big Neil Gallagher. We've got the amazing, sensational Monday night sessions coming up as ever with Jimmy and Paul. Next week, as we look ahead to all the GA news will be happening, of course, the big game, Tyrone and Donegal. My guest will include Tyrone legend Enda McGinley. So that's it for the DL Debate episode 1. I'll speak to you all next week.